Jacob, let me start with you on this one. Cloud9 also, in more surprising news, announced a Korean Valorant roster. Now, this is not the first time that we've heard a major organization do this. In fact, T1 is operating with 3 teams, and in other regions, teams like Team Liquid are thinking of having multiple teams in multiple regions as well. But specifically, Cloud9 announcing a Korean roster. Does that surprise you at all?
Think so. I think that I've actually had a lot of discussions about this, about and I did a panel for the Invin Global Esports Conference a few months ago with Joe Marsh, the CEO of T1, about how Western teams are trying to get involved in Asian countries like China and South Korea. I think that we're going to see that more generally across all of esports business. Valorant's an open system, right? Like, there's no anti-sister team rules at this point. I'm sure those will come, especially when we start getting international competition, because Riot will be concerned about match fixing and everything else, competitive integrity, etc. But I think for the time being, like, if you want to establish like your brand in another country, the easiest way to do that is to sign a team, especially if they end up being successful. Korea also feels like a very open market right now because of all the Vanguard issues we've talked about. Valorant really hasn't cemented itself in Korean esports culture quite yet because of some of those issues, because you can't play them in every single PC bong because there's security concerns, right? Kernel level thing, everything else around that. But yeah, like, this doesn't surprise me at all. I think that a lot of teams are going to try to find ways to get their brands into those countries and make a big impact in China and South Korea. And yeah, so C9 is just joins that list, right?
Yeah, I think it's a branding thing more than anything else. And also, like, if we do eventually, like, the pros of having a sister team are you get to, in this kind of style, you get to market yourself in a different country, with a bunch of players from that country. The only, like, con is, again, they probably won't allow sister teams once we have international competition. And the other con is, like, sometimes if you have a sister team, one of the cool benefits of it is that you get to scrim each other, which is unfortunately something that also can't happen in a COVID world right now. But I know, like, that was actually what was behind the rise of the sister team system in South Korea to begin with in League of Legends, was that the whole idea was that you had 2 teams that could scrim each other internally, and prepare a variety of strategies against each other before also playing against other teams in a tournament. So that unfortunately will not be a benefit either. But I don't mind it. I think, to Jacob's point, Korea is really open. I know they had their kind of first tournament this past week, and Vision Strikers, which is the former MVP lineup, won, which I honestly don't think should be much of a surprise to people, because these guys have been, like, they made the swap over to Valorant really early, from CS, so that shouldn't be a surprise. Across the tournament, we saw a lot of former PUBG players. We saw some former Overwatch players. The team that beat first of all, I want to shout out the team that beat T1's Korean roster. Was named, first of all, they were named Vac Kimchi, which is just awesome. But then second of all, it was the Tyrong team with Climax on it, who people might know from Overwatch, from the O2 teams. And Tyrong used to be a coach in the Overwatch League as well. So I just wanted to shout out to them because sick name. And also they were the team that ended up beating T1. So